Welcome, everybody. Nice to be back together again after these few weeks. And I certainly hope everybody had a very enjoyable, uplifting, spiritual Yom Tov. First day is a Sukkot, second day is from Yetzeres, Torah. I hope those people who eat halapchas, filled cabbage, it was delicious and good. It's a minhag to eat filled cabbage on Simchas Torah. And here we are back again to try to keep the momentum going. Such a series of great holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, Yetzeres, Torah kept going higher, higher, and higher. So we got to keep up the heights, keep up the momentum, and go from strength to strength, and keep getting stronger. So now we're back to our regular weekly Torah learning, which that's the biggest mitzvah, to study Torah. And that's what we're doing. And I hope that everybody will be able to follow and be inspired from the words of Torah that we're learning. Now, as we know, we're going back to, we stopped for a while. It's already quite a while. That's before the summer that we got up to where we, in Shmos, now we start Sefer Shmos, the second book. We stopped for Shavuos, we spoke about, then Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. Now we're back to our regular study of the beginning of Sefer, the second book, Shmos. Moshe Rabbeinu was born. Now that's not a simple thing. Moshe Rabbeinu being born, you know that they wanted to kill all the babies, all the boys, and Yocheved, his mother, she gave birth to him prematurely at 7 months instead of 9 months, beginning of the 7th month, as a matter of fact, which a baby can survive 6 months and 2 days, according to our rabbis. The baby could survive, and he was born 6 months and 2 days to a pregnancy. The Egyptians checked, good for nothing, what they were, that since they got married, Yocheved and Amram, they were checked after 9 months to see if any babies were born. They should take them away and kill them. But she gave birth after 6 months and 2 days, and she was able to conceal him for 3 months because they expected him to be born at 9 months, the usual amount of time. So they didn't check on her to see if a baby was born until 9 months. So she had him, gave birth to him after 6 months and 2 days. And she was able to hide him for 3 months. But by the time 3 months went by, she knew disaster. They're going to come and check and find the baby. And what are they going to do to him? They're going to kill him. So she put him in a little cradle, a little boat cradle, and put him in the Nile River. And number one, we have in our glossary sheet, Miriam was a sister of Moshe Rabbeinu. There were 3 siblings that they had, Yocheved and Amram. He had Aaron, the great high priest Aaron HaKohen. He had Moshe Rabbeinu, and Miriam, who was the sister of those 2 great people. She was a great person herself, naturally, 3. Unusual for 2 parents to have to give birth to 3 such great people, outstanding people of historical, of greatness. Aaron, Moshe, and Miriam. So this Miriam that we're talking about, we said number Nevuah, she was a prophetess. And she said, in their house, my parents are going to give birth to a son who will redeem the Jewish people. Number 2. Sida imi lahoyda ben shesher Yisrael. She said, my mother is going to give birth to a child who's going to redeem the Jewish people from Egypt. Now, the question was this real prophecy? Was she saying it as a prophetess? A prophet means God speaks to them, and the prophet means God speaks to the prophet. He has to be the great high standard of piety for God to speak to a man, to a person. A woman can be a prophet. Many great women prophets we had. Miriam, Devorah, and all the Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, all the matriarchs of the Jewish people, great prophets. And she said, I'm saying a prophecy that my mother will give birth to a child who will redeem the Jewish people. So they weren't sure if this was said as prophecy, or maybe she was just saying a nice thing. She was hoping, is it so? So when Moshe Rabbeinu was born, the house was full of light. The house was full of light when he was born. So, what does it mean, house full of light? Well, why is it full of light? What does that mean? Well, it means that we know every Jewish person has a neshama. Neshama means a soul. That makes it different from an animal. A person is different from an animal, that a man has a soul. Every man and woman has a soul. And this soul is a spiritual creation. We can't see it. We don't know what it is exactly. In the future, we'll be able to see the soul and see what it is exactly. But we have it. We all have it. And this is what makes us special, makes us spiritual. If we wouldn't have a soul, we'd be like a regular animal. Our bodies are like animals. We eat, sleep, drink, we walk like animals. Our soul makes us different. Our soul makes us great. Our soul connects us with Hashem, with God. That's our connection to God, through our soul. Our body connects through the soul to God. And that in the future will be what we'll connect to God with. In the future, when the great reward, the eternal reward will come to a person, through a person's soul connecting to God. So a person's soul is something that a person has when he comes to this world, connects to Hashem. And this connection to Hashem is what brought this light into the house. Because souls are different levels of souls. Some souls are greater than others. Just like some people are greater than other people, souls are different than other people. Moshe Rabbeinu had a great soul, a neshama. It was very elevated. It was very holy, very spiritual. It was so spiritual that shined right through his body, and it filled the house with light. Of course, that light was not only just a light from a bulb. It was a light of spirituality. They felt different. That light made things brighter in the way that we think of light, but it wasn't only a light, a physical light that you put on the switch. It means a light, there was a spiritual feeling. There was a different feeling in the house. When Moshe Rabbeinu was born, they felt elevated. They felt different. Maybe something like we felt at Simchas Torah, dancing with the Torahs, right? We felt elevated, a special feeling. How about when we felt by Kol Nidre? We felt a special elevation. By Ne'ilah, we felt a special elevation. On Yom Kippur, after Yom Kippur, how everybody feels elevated, special. It's a special feeling. Why? What is that special feeling? That means we're closer to Hashem, closer to God. When we go to a Rosh Hashanah, the time to blow the shofar, we feel elevated, feel different. Kippur, on Yom Tov, when one lights Shabbos candles, you feel elevated, feel different, feel spiritual. What are you feeling then? You're feeling connecting to Hashem, connecting to God, when we feel those feelings. Because at that time, we're sort of out of this world a little bit, out of the mundane, physical, down-to-earth world that we live in, and we get a little taste of the real world. I was once talking to somebody in our yeshiva, and the boys were in the study hall studying Torah. It's a great sight to see everybody studying Torah, but talking to TorahMates that they learn in that Torah. And I was having a conversation with somebody. They said to me, you know something, in the real world, I said, whoa, when the real, no, this is the real world. He's the real world. This is study hall, about to study Torah. The real world is out there, Wall Street with the banks, with cars. I said, no, my friend, this is the real world. This is the real. And then this in study hall, boys are studying Torah day and night. This is the real world. That's a fake world. That's only for people who live, they die. They don't take that with them. This is the real world. The real world is the study of Torah, keeping Torah, studying Torah. That's the real world. So people start talking about the real world. That's the real world. So this is what we feel at the time, whether we're doing certain actions of spirituality, we feel differently, we feel inspired, we feel elevated. What are we feeling? Yom Kippur, Shoshana, Simchas Torah. What are we feeling? By wedding sometimes, we've said by chuppah, we see the bride, we feel different. What are we feeling? We're feeling connecting to Hashem. Connected to Hashem. Our neshama is connected to Hashem. And therefore it elevates us. Well, we feel different. Our body feels different too. We feel like a different person. It doesn't last too long by most people. Of course, by great people, I feel like that all the time. But because they stay connected to God all the time. But for simple people like ourselves, we have certain spurts of spirituality that we feel. And that is the connection of the neshama to Hashem. So the house was full of light. Light means light, what we call light, and light we call enlightened. We call it a person enlightened, means his intellect understands something. He's enlightened. We are enlightened by spirituality. They felt different, something different in the house. We're connected to Hashem. This little baby that was born, his neshama is so great, even though he didn't do anything yet. But Hashem gave him such a great neshama. He's connecting to Hashem, and therefore they felt it. So they said, so Amram came to his daughter, he kissed her on her head and said, my daughter, I see you were right. You are a prophetess. You said that mommy is going to give birth to a great person who will save the Jewish people, take them out of Egypt. I see that you were correct. This baby was born. It must be him. Light in the house. All of a sudden, with such a spiritual feeling. So what happened? They came, and they're looking for this baby. They want to kill him. So the mother goes ahead, makes him a little cradle, puts him in the water. The mother came to her and said, you're a prophet? I said, what's happening? He's going to die. Put him in the water. So how long is it? Either he'll die in the water, or they'll find him and they'll kill him. So you're a prophetess? I thought you're a prophetess. You got a kiss on the head when he was born, but now we gave her a little slap. Slap. You have a slap on the head. He kissed you on the head, I slapped you on your head. You come and tell us such a thing, that he's going to be born and save the Jewish people. It looks happening to him. So you must be wrong. It must be false what you're saying. You're not a prophet. You just said it on your own. Because we see what's happening to him. So naturally Miriam felt very, very upset. Here, of course, the main thing, that little brother looks like he's doomed. There's no way to save him. So she stood by. She stood not too far away to see what's going to happen to him. She was convinced something's going to happen good. Something good's going to happen. We have over here, I put down the number 3. Moshe Rabbeinu was born, and the house was full of light. So, number 4, the father came, kissed her on her head. They threw him to the water, number 5, and the mother gave her a slap on her head. She said, what are you telling us? Prophecies that are not true. He's doomed, and you're telling me that he's going to save the Jewish people? So we have number 6. She stood by to see what's going to happen. And number 7, Afilu, this is a quote from the Talmud, from the Gemara. Even if a person was doomed, that they took a Jewish person, like they did many times, and they want to give him the death penalty. They want to kill him. And they have the sword right on his neck, ready to cut into his throat. Don't give up. Don't think there's no way to be saved. Don't give up from Rachman. Because no matter how close a person is to death, he can always come back. He always can be saved. They have a whole book that was recently, a real true story about the concentration. So many stories about concentration camps. People will be saved. This recently the book came out. They had the noose around his head, and they're ready to hang him. And the officer said, "No." The officer said, "Don't hang him. Look, he'll have such a. You look at him. He's having such a good time. Everybody's looking at him. He's giving his life. We'll have to kill him a different way, not in front of everybody, where he's going to get a satisfaction in front of everybody. He was killed as a Jew." They took off the noose from his head, and he was saved afterwards. There's a whole book written on that. What's the name of the book, everybody? What? Incredible. He's incredible, unbelievable. Made 2 different books, I don't know, but maybe the same book, I don't know. It's incredible, it's unbelievable, it's both. Yeah. Or the story of, they had rounded up a bunch of young men, and they put them into the gas chamber, and they started dancing and singing. We're about to meet our Creator, about to meet our great-parents, great-grandparents. In a few minutes, they'll be dead through the poisonous gas that they're going to put in the gas chamber. They started dancing and singing, and the German outside, what's going on there? He couldn't stand it. He said, "Yeah, we're going to meet our Creator." He said, no, this is too good for you. I'm going to cut you up piece by piece. You're dancing and singing, I'll show you. Come out, we'll really take care of you. And then he was transferred to a different place, and they were saved. So, whoever it happened to, don't give up. Maybe something will happen on the way. So, that's exactly what Miriam was thinking at the time. Even if you have a sword at your throat, death looks like it's imminent, going to happen. Don't think that God can't, at the last second, change the whole situation. And exactly that's what happened. She stood there and she knew that she had this prophecy and it's going to happen. No matter how bad things look and how bleak things look, that's the name of our shmooze tonight. No matter how bleak the situation, don't despair. God is in charge. So she went, the commentaries comment on these words, Ma ye'asaloi, what will be done with him? Not if something will be done, like Rabbi Chaim says, what will be done? No question something's going to be done. He'll be saved. She was convinced he'll be saved. She didn't go to stand by to see if he'll be saved, or what will be saved, how it's going to happen. She wanted to see what's going to happen. One way or another, he'll be saved. If you understand the Hebrew, you appreciate this, what I'm saying now. She stood by, and she was, yes, what will be done to him? What's going to happen? And not if it's going to happen, what's going to happen? Something's going to happen. Something great's going to happen here. So, what happened? Exactly that's what happened. Number 8, we have the daughter of Paro. We call her Basya. The real name is really Bisya. We call her Basya. But her name is really Bisya. But for some reason, we call her Basya. And then Baska. She came down to wash herself in the river, the Nile River. Now the question, what's supposed to tell me what's the difference why she came down there for? She came down there to take a walk, and why did to wash? Why does the pasuk tell we have no in the Torah? There's nothing extra that said. So we're told by the Medrash, she came to wash herself from her father's idol worship. She became a tzaddikus. She grew up in the house of Paro. She's the daughter of Paro, the Russia, the wicked, the possible, killing Jewish babies, enslaving people. And she grew up in this house, But she saw through the whole thing, and she decided this is not for me. I see the Jewish people, they're the ones I want to have a connection to, not her father with all his idols and all his cruelty. She came down to wash herself off, means for wash herself, get rid of all the evil and the idol worship and all the bad things that her father did. That's really what she was doing. And she came out like a person. She had to become Jewish. And a person who converts has to go into a mikveh, into a body of water, to immerse themselves into it. So she came down to do that and really wash herself away from all the bad actions and the bad way that her father conducted himself. And now she was together with her maidservants. So she's the daughter of the king, so she had a lot of people, an entourage of people coming with her to come down to the water. They didn't realize what she's doing over there. They thought she's going there just to take a swim. So she saw this cradle in the water. And she decided to take a look. What's it doing there? What's this cradle doing in the water? It was very strange. And the servants of hers figured, there must be a Jewish baby. What then is it? Probably the mother put him there to save him. So they said to her, don't pick up that cradle. That's a Jewish baby, and you shouldn't help him. Right? Just what the Germans did, right? The Germans had a law. Anybody who tries to help a Jew, shot on the spot. Soldiers were told, if you see any of the soldiers trying to save a Jew, whether it's a baby, it's a man, woman, a child, if they try to save them, shoot them. That's to get the death penalty. They didn't want any Jews to be saved. Some of the Germans said, I mean, the story's like that. Some of them gave their life. They took a chance, and they saved Jewish people. Some of them were caught. They were shot on the spot. I'm sure you read about it, all the different stories about it. So here also they said to her, no, don't save that baby. The baby's doomed. He's supposed to king his creed. But she didn't listen to them. And she stretched out her arm and she took the cradle. Now, amasa, the word amasa in Hebrew, has two different meanings. Amasa could mean an arm, amasa, or it could mean an amma, a cubit, a measurement, about a foot long in our measurements. She stretched out her arm, but the problem was that the cradle was so far away from her. When she stretched her arm, she was on the land, it was in the middle of the water. How in the world was she able to get a hold of that cradle with her arm? So we're told that God made a miracle. And her arm became very long, amos. She stretched out her arm, which became, amos became feet long, 3 feet long, and she was able to grab a hold of the cradle. Because God made him, he wanted to save Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? Like Miriam said, something's going to happen over here. He's going to be saved. Of course, everybody asked the question, once she did it already, a miracle happened. But how did she know? Why did she stretch her arm for it? She had a small arm. She couldn't reach it. She did it, and a miracle happened. But how did she know a miracle was going to happen? Why did she stretch out her hands for it? She was so far away from it. And we learn from here a very important lesson. Sometimes something seems impossible. Sounds like it's impossible. But you have to go ahead and do the impossible. We have to try our best. Sometimes it seems impossible. I can't do it. I can't keep Shabbos. Somebody will say, I can't Shabbos. I can't. It's too hard. I can't make money in Shabbos. I can't do it. Do it. A miracle will happen. You'll be able to do it. I can't help somebody. It's too hard. I can't do this. I can't do that. You have to make an attempt. You just want to sit back, you can't do it. No, sit back. Try your best. Do what you can. You do what you can, God will make miracles for you. He'll break down walls, break down barriers, and He'll make it happen. And that's what she did. She said, I can't, but I'm going to try, do my best. She went and put her hand out, and God stretched. She reached it. It's a very important lesson we learn from over here. Very important lesson. And she was able to retrieve that little cradle boat that she had. So we have in a glossary sheet to catch up. To wash on the river. She came down to wash on the river, which means that she wanted to wash herself away from the Gilui Aviyah, number 10, to go away from her, to become Jewish and go away from all the cruelty and disgusting actions of her father, to change herself. And number 11, the ones who tried to stop her died. Gabriel, the angel Gabriel, the angel, we call him Gabriel in Hebrew, Gabriel, the angel. Gabriel means Gibor. He's the angel of Mishpat, of God's the laws, strict laws. Gabriel, Gevurah, one who gives strict laws. He's the one who came to Sodom. Remember, Sodom was burned. Gabriel was the one who made Sodom turn upside down. The infamous cities of Sodom and the ones that were destroyed. Malach Gabriel is the one who makes things like that happen. He came and smote all of them. All of her maidservants died. They were trying to stop her from saving Moshe Rabbeinu. Gabriel came down in God's, naturally in God's command. God wanted him to do so, to stop them. They're all very cruel people, the Egyptians. They treat the Jewish people very cruelly, very bad. And they wanted the babies to die. They were part of the whole plan. But she was different. She stood out. She stood for what's right. And number 12, her hand became stretched out to be many cubits. God made a miracle. So, and Miriam was watching all this happening, right? She was right. She knew something's going to happen. She knew God's going to help save him at the last minute. Even though the sword was on around his neck. He was going to die. No hope. Here, God made the miracle happen. She came down at the right time, and she retrieved that basket that he was in. And she decided, she opened up this little cradle, and she saw Shechina with him. She was inspired. She saw this light was with him. She oversaw the light that he gave in the house of his parents. He was lighting that little cradle. His neshama was shining out. She said, this is not a regular baby. There's something special. Decided, I'm going to adopt this baby. He's something special. She had rachmanas in him. She had mercy on him. The little baby is crying. He was crying. He was crying. I don't know how long he was there. And she had rachmanas on him. And they tried to get him a woman to nurse him. They didn't have bottles in those times. They didn't have nipples with bottles. They had mothers who gave birth, who were nursing, used to make a business of keeping the nursing going and nurse other babies with mothers who couldn't nurse them. They used to have nursemaids. Those were the bottles of those times. They didn't have the bottles that we have today. So she got one Egyptian nursemaid to nurse this baby, stop him from crying. But he wouldn't nurse from her. He wouldn't nurse from her. Even though he was crying and he was so hungry and he was so thirsty, he wouldn't nurse from her. Why? Because he was destined to talk to God. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to talk to God, right? Mount Sinai. Take the Torah from God. 40 years in the desert, Moshe Rabbeinu talked to God. He didn't want to contaminate his mouth from nursing from the Egyptian woman. They were such Rishoyim, such wicked people. He didn't want to contaminate his mouth. He couldn't do it. So he didn't know what to do. All of a sudden now, Miriam comes along. She knew what's going on. She knew why he wouldn't nurse from her, from the Egyptian woman. She knew why. So he said to her, Maybe we should get a Jewish woman to come and nurse him. Maybe that's going to help. You know he's Jewish, right? She said he's Jewish. She realized he was Jewish. Maybe if you got a Jewish mother, maybe that'll help. So he said, hey, yeah, okay, go and get her fast. Poor baby. You can't. So who do you think she went to get? His mother. She got Yocheved to come. Of course, Basia didn't know who she was. She wouldn't like that too much. And she came and she nursed the baby. Oh, now he nursed from the baby, from the Tzaddikus, the great pious woman, his mother Yocheved, from the most pious people in the world. From her he nursed, because that was that great mouth of his that's going to talk to God. That holy mouth of his, and only nurse from a holy woman's nursing. And that's what we're up to right now. So we'll have to we'll see how his name came around and what they called him. But that's right now. So we have to realize that whatever situation we're in, we should not despair. God's there and he can make miracles happen. No matter what difficulties we're facing, we should always realize that God can do wonders for the Jewish people especially. And now, Rabbi, we're up to questions. If they have no questions, I'll go further.
Excuse me. We do have questions. But let's see if the audience has some questions. Okay. The father of the bride.
Yeah, I'm thinking, my son's daughter became a kala.
And here's his son.
That's my granddaughter, by the way. Yeah. happens to be.
Okay, the question comes from the DU chat. I need to take a video.
What's the DU chat? Oh, the DU. Oh, the DU. Oh, okay.
Okay, the question comes from the DU chat. Children often have FFF or FFW. FFF stands for fear of fleischiks, fear of washing. Should we and benching? I guess it's FF, fear of fleischiks, and fear of washing, because then they have to bench. And the question is, should we insist on it to kids? A lot of kids say, I don't want to wash because then I have to bench, or I don't want to wash, I don't want to eat bread because then I have to wash, and then they don't want to become fleischiks for some reason. I guess they're hoping to get pizza or ice cream somehow instead of their mother's food. Yeah.
Well, why do you call it fear? Why do you call it fear?
I think it's a little bit of a sort of a joke that, but they're phobia.
It's that people want to stay parv, or they want to stay, they don't want to wash, so they're it's not really a fear.
Listen,
but that's
you're talking about washing and meat, any mitzvah. They want to daven, they want to go to shul, they don't want to keep Shabbat. I mean,
no, but there's an obligation to daven. Here, the kid doesn't want to wash, so they don't want to eat bread. Should the parent insist that the kid eats bread and wash and bench?
What do you mean?
The kid doesn't want to eat bread.
He wants to eat bread without washing.
No. He wants to not eat bread.
So this is a
meal in the house.
A health question.
There's a meal in the house. The mother is serving sandwiches. The kid says, I don't want to wash, so I'm not eating the sandwiches. Should the mother insist that the kid wash and eat the sandwich and bench? Or find something else to eat?
So it's a health question, not a religious question?
Or what?
Why is it? What?
Well, he's the salami without the bread. He doesn't want to eat the bread.
So it's a health question. Should we force him to eat the bread or not? Is it good for him to healthy to eat bread?
He's staying away from the bread for religious reasons.
What's religious reasons?
The kid doesn't want to bench. He finds it difficult to bench. It's challenging to bench. It takes time to bench.
So the mother said, well, wash without benching?
The mother's saying wash and eat the bread and bench. And the kid is saying, I'll eat the salami and leave me alone.
Yeah. So now it's a question, but should force him.
It's very popular today that people want to wash because they say it's a big inyan, it's a big skula for parnasa to bench. It's also a big thing now.
It's for the rights to bench. Yeah, I don't see it's a health question. So not a religious question. So I don't want to salami without bread. No, I want to eat bread. So, and bench. So it's a question, should force them to eat bread or not?
They want to train them not to bench. They want to train them to wash and bench.
Okay, so I will say, like everything else, when it comes to chinuch, you have to know who your child is. You have to know to what a level he is in his religiosity, and how he's going to react to forcing him to do something. And if the parents feel that it's going to work, do it. Usually it's not going to work, don't do it. It depends on the situation. Depends on the child. And we know forcing usually turns people off, and it's not to force them. Maybe if you promise them that in 6 hours from now we'll get you a real super duper spin a split with 3 dips of ice cream, or do something to sheikh a little bit to talk him into it, promise him something to do it. But it's a regular question of how to, every child is different, and every situation is different, and naturally, child rearing is an art, and you have to know how to do it, and when to do it, and how much to do it, and that's what the word is over here.
Okay, online question. Is there anything wrong with a man wearing a wedding band? Not exchanging rings at the wedding, but just wearing a wedding band to indicate that he's married, he's taken. Stay away.
Well, there's nothing wrong with it, halachically speaking. I think probably they used to wear wedding bands in the old days. Men used to wear, not wedding bands, used to wear jewelry, different types of jewelry. But it seems that now it became unfashionable for religious people to wear a wedding band, a man, because the conservative and reformed rabbis, they encourage switching rings, double ring ceremony, and that is not halakhically correct, and therefore we're not allowed to do that at a wedding. So therefore, that's why it seems why it came out of style for a man to wear a wedding band, because it's been done the wrong way at the time of the wedding. In other words, he can wear a ring, but nothing to do with the wedding ring. Not to be exchanging rings at the. So therefore, became non-acceptable for men to get a ring at the wedding. Therefore, they stopped wearing rings, it seems. But they used to wear rings, and there's nothing wrong with it. I don't think you call that a malbush isha anymore, because women were not men, because some men wear it. So you can't consider it. A man's not allowed to wear women's clothing or jewelry, but I would not consider that a woman's jewelry, because there are men that have rings. So it's just not customary to wear. It's not halachically wrong.
Angela, let's go. We'll help you.
And also, hi everybody. And also, I hope that my English will be enough to explain what's my question. Okay, we just learned about the Moshe, how he helped all the Jewish people go through the Egypt and through the Red Sea. So why we have to believe that's the God, to the version that's the God or miracle help to Moshe to take all Jewish people and walk through the sea, while we don't believe that Jesus walked through the sea?
Her question is, we're just starting about Moses, but we do know that later on in the story, well, at the rate we're going, it might be in 2 years from now, Moses is going to lead the Jews out of Egypt and will cross the Red Sea. So why do we believe that Moses led the Jews to the Red Sea, but we don't believe that Jesus walked on water?
Well, very simply, why don't you go back a little further? Why do you believe that Moses in the Torah, the Old Testament, why not believe in the New Testament? That's the same question. Maybe go back even to further and more basic question, not just one action of splitting the sea and walking on the water. Go back and ask, why do we believe in the Old Testament? Why don't we believe in the New Testament? Ask that question. That'll answer this question too. And this answer is very, very simple, because that is very important to know. The big difference between the Jewish tradition and the non-Christian or any other religion is that at the time that God gave the Torah to Mount Sinai, there were millions of people that witnessed it. They saw God coming down with the lightning and the thunder, speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu, and all the action that happened at that time. And God spoke to them. They heard his voice speaking to them, was witnessed by millions of people. By any other religion, for instance, Yoshka that I don't want to say his name, Yoshka that you're talking about, he was not witnessed by anybody. Maybe one or two of us. He had 5 disciples, and they decided that he is God's son. And the whole thing that the belonging story about, about he's the son of God and the whole Trinity, the whole thing. So this was something that was made up by one person, few people. They came along and told people, hey, look what happened. God changed his mind. He gave a new law. He took away the old Torah, gave a new Torah. What are you talking about? God came down with millions of people, gave the Torah, and they told their children afterwards, millions of people, tens of thousands of people gave over to every generation, the next generation. And this is the true Torah that God gave. Nobody's going to come along and say, a guy made up the story that, that God changed his mind, and I'm a son of God, and he's, what are you talking about? He'd come along and believe a story like that. Someone walking to say, I'm the son of God. Even if he makes miracles, he can make miracles, made miracles. God tells us in the Torah, if somebody comes up and tells you, let's change the Torah, and he makes miracles, don't believe him. He can make miracles, but he is not my shliach. He's not my emissary. He's not my person giving over to you. I gave my man as Moshe Rabbeinu. Moses gave the Torah to the Jewish people. God will never change his mind, and this is the true religion, and we have millions of people saw it. So anything about the New Testament is false. There's no truth to it. It's just by a few people that came along, and they talked a lot of people into it, and it's very convenient. It says in the Torah, openly, there's no form, God has no form, he's not a man, he's not an animal, not in the heavens, not in the earth. They come along, no, he's God. 10 Commandments. It says, don't believe in any other forms of God. God has no form. They come along now, the Son of God is a form, is a person. So this is why we don't believe in the New Testament. It's null and void.
Seems somebody didn't get the gist of it, so I'm going to try to recap quickly. I think I'm going to try to be the answer. Maybe everything was a sign or a hurricane, but so her question is, why do we believe that it was a miracle?
What?
Why do we believe it was a miracle that the sea split? Maybe it was a tsunami that happened to come by just at that time, which is also a miracle. Which would also be a miracle, right? Angel, that would also be a miracle. Tsunami came and split that's how God works, right?
Well, we know because God
exactly
told Moshe Rabbeinu. They told it from before.
No, but I'm saying if the sea split by some act of nature, just when the Jews had to go by and the Jews went through, and then as the Egyptians came and it crashed down on them, that would also be a miracle.
Yeah, we could say, I don't know, it wasn't a miracle. I mean, everything's a miracle. Once you believe in God, everything's a miracle. But I'm saying over here, nobody can say that because it says in the Torah.
No, she's saying, who says it was a miracle?
It was said from before, God said to Moshe Rabbeinu, put your hand, staff, and split the sea. It's going to split. He told him in advance. If it's a natural phenomena that happened by itself, you can't predict it's going to happen. God said from before, I'm going to make the sea split. So it wasn't a thing that happened all of a sudden by itself. There was foretold that this is what's going to happen. So just like all the 10 plagues were told from before. Each one, blood. It was blood. Told from before. It's going to be blood. It became blood. So everything was foretold from the very beginning. So we know it wasn't a natural phenomenon. It was something that God made thing.
Okay, we have an online question. That is, Rabbi Mintz has often addressed the blessing that a man makes in the morning that says, I am not thanking God for not making him a woman. And the woman makes a blessing that God made him according to his will. The question is then, Rabbi Mintz has always said that it's not derogatory against women. It's just that men have the commandment to study Torah. Over here, the question is that in last week's Torah reading, we read that man will rule over woman, it seems to say. A. And B, why is the man's blessing in the negative and the woman's blessing in the affirmative? Man doesn't say thank you for making me a man. He says thank you for not making me a woman. And the woman says thank you for making me according to your will. So it's a two-pronged question. A, in last week's Torah reading, it says that the man will the woman be subservient to the man. And the second question is, why is the man's blessing in the negative, thanking God for not making him a woman, and the woman's question in the affirmative for making him according to his will?
Well, there is I mentioned this also a few times in the past, that God's plan for Shalom Bayis, for peace in the home. We know that
I think we need Rabbi Rachman here for this.
He's at a wedding tonight, so he couldn't come. We just read about the creation, right? God created the whole world, created the sun and the moon. Now we're told that the sun and the moon were created equally. But two kings cannot rule at one time. Therefore, God made the moon smaller and the sun was bigger, and it sort of rules over the moon. It's a much brighter light, and it's much more acceptable and more enjoyed by people. Two people together are going to have the same amount of power. They're going to have problems. They're going to have conflicts. Now, God made that the world is that a man and woman live together. They have children together. They build a home together. But what do you do to avoid conflicts? Two people living together in the same home, there's going to be difference of opinion, and there's going to be a lot of fighting going on, whether it's hopefully not physical fighting, that happens too, but verbal fighting and disagreements. So God came up with a great plan, wonderful plan he came up with. Listen to this. He came up with the plan in order to keep the peace in the house. You have to have one person who is the main person in charge, and they should be the one to run the house, and under their guidance and their opinion, that's how the house should run. So God made man to be the one, and the woman to be subservient to her husband, that she should listen to him and want to go along with what he says, and takes away the problem of conflict. But we know, Chazal, a woman has the power to talk her husband into what she wants. She does it in a feminine way, not to fight. Oh, you're in charge, of course, but sweetie pie, how about this, how about that? A woman has a way to talk her husband in what she likes to happen. And she really runs the house. Really, she's smart. She talks her husband into doing what she wants. And she really runs the house. So she makes him feel like he's the boss, but she, undercover, she's the one who gets him to do what she wants. So there's a wonderful way of keeping the peace in the house. The husband's happy because he's the boss, and the wife's happy she gets what she wants. Today, the problem in the world is there's almost no marriage left anymore. Everybody's getting divorced, and people don't want to get married anymore because it ends up in divorce because of those people who made the woman, we're this equal to a man. There's no difference between a man and a woman, and therefore they come together, and therefore that's why they can't get along. And therefore there's always fighting because they don't go with this guidelines. The Torah made, God made the world the way I just said before. Everybody's happy, everybody has what they want. That's the way it was run all the years through the generations. People were happy, the men were happy, the women were happy. Very few divorces around, and they had a wonderful family. Now we come with these people who think that they know it all. Mrs. Know It and Mrs. Knows All. So, no, that's not right. Women have to be the same as a man, and therefore they have to be equal. And if they could, they made men have babies too, but they can't do that. Whatever, they have to do everything the man does, and therefore the two people together fighting, and they can't get along, and therefore they can't live together. And therefore ends up divorce, and therefore that's the problem. So it's such a master, wonderful idea God came up with. It's unbelievable. Think about it. It's really very special.
Okay, questions in the room? A few online questions, so let's go to those quickly. Somebody asks, we just had 3 sets of 3-day holidays. Rosh Hashanah was 3 days, the first days of Sukkot were 3 days, now the last days of Sukkot were 3 days. During these prolonged days of Yom Tov, I ate so much, I feel like the fat cows in Pharaoh's dream. Isn't there some way to celebrate a festival without eating? Seems that we're eating all day.
Well, it's very interesting because there's dispute in the Gemara how you're supposed to run the holiday. One opinion is that you can fast the whole day on Yom Tov. So this lady probably would like to go according to that opinion that you don't have to eat on Yom Tov.
Rabbi Mintz is presuming it's a lady.
Who then? Yeah. But it's a matter of a person of self-control. People on diets, and they very careful the whole week. Comes to Shabbos, no diets. They go eat what they didn't eat the whole week, eat on Shabbos. They don't lose any weight. They don't understand why. Shabbos is not a time to overeat. Eat something normally, that tasty food more than the whole week, but keep it, in line of what you want to accomplish. You want to lose weight. You don't have to gain weight on Shabbos. You don't have to gain weight on the holidays. You can have tasty food, but minimize how much you eat and don't gain weight. So first, self-control. There's no mitzvah on Shabbos and Yom Tov to overeat and gain weight. It's not necessary, and it's not right. People, one of the great rabbis comments on this and says, person who overeats on Shabbos is not honoring Shabbos, is honoring his stomach. That's not Shabbos stomach. You want to overeat, eating. Eat what? Like a mensch. Good tasty food, more than the whole week, but don't overeat. Keep on your diet and don't gain weight on Shabbos and Yom Tov. That's what it is. You have to fast, but you have to overeat. The person would not overeat, he won't gain any weight.
No. Send the message to the kitchen in the zone. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, the zone last week, a lady came and said to me, I'm suing the zone. I gained so much weight, I'm going to sue you. Oh, you have a hand up over here.
If Simchas Torah was created by the rabbis, I'm assuming like Purim was and Hanukkah was, why are there holiday-like restrictions on Simchas Torah when it's not mentioned in the Torah?
Okay, the question is, Simchas Torah doesn't seem to be mentioned in the Torah. And as a matter of fact, I would add that it's not celebrated in Israel, which is probably the root of the misunderstanding here. So is Simchas Torah a rabbinic holiday or a biblical holiday? And if it's a rabbinic holiday, why does it have restrictions when Hanukkah and Purim, which are rabbinic holidays, don't?
Oh, let me explain that. It takes a little explanation. The holiday of Simchas Torah is the second day of Shmini Atzeres, and the Torah tells Shmini Atzeres. We have the first day of Sukkot. According to Torah law, you have 1 day of Sukkot at the beginning, 1 day of Sukkot at the end. Shmini Atzeres. 1 day and 1 day. The 8th day. Pesach, you have the first and the 7th day. Sukkot, you have the first day and the 8th day. So the first day is only to be 1 day. How can we have 2 days? So in the Golus, we have 2 days. I once explained that at length. I can't go at the right time, but right now it's not enough time. But we celebrate Sukkot 2 days. Really, the Torah law is 1 day, but rabbinic law in the diaspora, in the Golus, we have to keep 2 days. Same thing for Shmini Atzeres. It's only really 1 day. We have to keep 2 days, according to the rabbis. A regular din of Shavuos, of Sukkot, of Pesach, in the diaspora, in Golus, we have to keep 2 days. The rabbis made the second day of Shmini Atzeres, it became a tradition. It's not even the law from the rabbis. It became a tradition later on to celebrate the finish of the Torah on, make a big celebration on the second day. In Israel, it did it on the first day. It's only 1 day. So the rabbis tell us on this day, which is a Torah law in Israel, or it's a rabbinic law in the diaspora, we finish the Torah and make a big celebration. But the the essence of the day of Simchas Torah is the same as the second day of Sukkot. The same thing, same laws apply. Added to that, we finish the Torah and make a celebration. So Purim has no root in the Torah, foundation of the Torah altogether. So Torah, no reason why to not do Malacha on Purim. But here, the second day of Shemini Atzeres is similar to the first day, which is forbidden to work on the first day of Shemini Atzeres, according to the Torah. And we have to keep that the second day and the diaspora also to the second day. That was added on later to make a celebration about the Torah. That's something new, something else. Not connected to the law of the Torah law of keeping 2 days of Yom Tov. It's a different thing altogether.
Last question in the room? Maisha. Yeah, it's a few weeks already. You weren't here.
I want to go a little back to Parashat Bereshit.
Yes.
When God put Adam and Eve in Gan Eden and He put there the Etz HaDaat, He said, don't eat from that Etz HaDaat. And God knew that they're not be able to stand up the test. They're going to eat it. So what is the purpose to do the test?
Okay, Moshe Strassman would like to know. When God put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and forbade them from eating from the tree of knowledge, He knew that they would fail the test. So what was the purpose of the test?
Well, this question is for everybody. Not only God, Adam and Chava, for everybody. God put us in this world and He puts temptations in front of us, and we're supposed to not fall to the temptations of different, not to eat non-kosher food, and not to do certain things on Shabbos. And these are all temptations that we have, and we're supposed to keep the laws of the Torah. But God knows in advance what we're going to do. And the question is, how is that possible? If we have free will, how can not God know the future? That's the Rambam, Maimonides talks about, and something we can't understand. It's above our understanding. And what you're asking is a question for every person, every day. God knows what we're going to do, so how can we have free choice? So that's why put in the Garden of Eden and told him not to eat. If He knows he's going to eat, why did He put it all together? So this is a question for every one of us, and something that's above our understanding. Like you can't take an ant and teach him 1 and 1 is 2. His brain is not big enough to know 1 and 1 is 2 for an ant. Our brain can't understand how God can know the future, and we have free choice. How is that possible? But God knows. We don't know. So God put the tree of knowledge in there and told him, don't eat from it, and you have free will. God knew He was going to eat from it anyway. So that was his. That was their level of the soyin of what the challenge, and he had to live up to the challenge.
Okay, we have an online question. A professional musician was told that he can't play music on the Sabbath, even though it is not electronic. Yet he finds, as he reads Tehillim, Psalms, and he finds that it seems that the Levites in the temple blew trumpets and played harps and lyres in the temple on Shabbat as well. Why were they able to, and why can't he?
Well, the answer is because playing music without electric guitars, electricity, the old-time fashioned types of instruments, according to Torah law, is permitted. There's no malacha that's being performed by playing an instrument. The rabbis made a law: we're not allowed to play instruments because we're afraid the musician playing might have a problem with his particular instrument. He might come to fix it. Let's say that he'll have his guitar, he's playing, and all of a sudden it's not working right, so he'll have to fix it, and it might break, and he'll forget himself because in the middle of playing, and that is a Torah law. You can't fix an instrument because that's fixing something you can't do on Shabbos. So therefore, they forbade us to play instruments on Shabbos because we might come to do, even though it's not a Torah law, we might come to go against the Torah law by fixing an instrument. In the Beis Hamikdash, the Holy Temple, we have a klal en shvus b'mikdash. There's no rabbinic laws that stop a person from doing something in the Beis Hamikdash. Beis Hamikdash, the Kohanim, the priests and the Levites were very careful. They were very pious people, and they felt they don't have to make the laws for them. They're in the Beis Hamikdash, they play the music, they're not going to fix it because they're very pious, they're very careful. They didn't make it in the base in the Holy Temple itself. They did not make the rabbis did not make the rabbinic laws to forbid them from playing music in the Beis Hamikdash because it was done by the Levites who were very pious and very careful. Out of the Beis Hamikdash, for a regular person, they made this law not to play because they might come to forget themselves and fix the instruments. So that's the difference.
Okay. Any other questions in the room? Last question. Back to the DU chat.
Yeah, from the DU chat, they want to know what is wrong with walking into a church.
Why is it forbidden to walk into a church? Or is it forbidden to walk into a church? And
forbidden
if
to
it
walk-
is, why?
It is forbidden because people might think, Maris Ein is called, people might think he's going there to pray and be part of the people that are there, and therefore you're not allowed to walk into church because people might think that you are praying to church to who they pray to, which is nobody to pray to, and therefore the rabbi said, just like many other things, they shouldn't walk into a non-kosher establishment which they don't have anything else but food. You're not allowed to walk in either. People think you went there to eat the non-kosher food. You're not allowed to do something as the law in the Torah should be naki, Hashem should be clean from God and from people. Not only do we have to be clean from God, but also clean from people. People shouldn't think or have such a possibility in the mind that maybe that person is doing something against Torah law. We don't want people to be looked at like that. So therefore we have to be careful not to do something which will give suspicion to people that are doing something wrong. Therefore you cannot walk into a non-kosher restaurant unless there's other things. They serve kosher things there too. They have their bathroom there, whatever it is. But if we're just a food place, nothing else, you're not allowed to walk in. Even if you don't buy anything. You're not allowed to walk into a church because people might think that you're serving the God in that church, and therefore we don't want people to be suspect of things that they're not guilty of.
Okay. That's it, folks. We hope to see you next week. And thank you, Rabbi Mintz. And Mazel Tov.
Have a good week, everybody, and hope to see you next week again. And we'll come to talk about Moshe Rabbeinu, how he got his name. What does Torah say?